Um, Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all for this exciting webinar on Happy Minds, Healthy Lives, Championing Children's Mental Health. And thank you all for joining the webinar. I'm Ms. Suvarna Karande, and I work as a psychological counselor with Simbi Star School. And I'll be the moderator for this session. We are Child Mental Health Week, and this webinar is an attempt from our side to create awareness about the social emotional well-being of children and how parents and teachers can work on it. Now, let me introduce expert speakers today. We have two speakers with us today. First speaker, we have a senior play therapist. She has done her master's in child development from Bombay University and a family counseling course from US. She has done her training in play therapy under the guidance of Dr. Meera Hope, and she has been working in this field since the year 2005. She has a wide range of experience, in terms of working with children from different strata. So, children in private clinics, then in children who are placed with NGOs, adoption centers, and those who are in hospitals. She also conducts workshops and training programs for parents, teachers, counselors, and students of psychology. So thank you, Anupama ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you, Suvarna. Thank you for inviting me here. Yeah.
But for your expert inputs. Then our second speaker for today is Ms. Nehal Pimpalkhare. So she is an RCI registered clinical psychologist, and she works into counseling, and she has an extensive experience of counseling and psychotherapy. She uses a lot of these new generation, third generation cognitive theories with her clients, and she has also got a very good vast experience of working with different clients. So, and very important, she's also pursuing her PhD from Pune University. So welcome, Nehal. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as we begin with the session, I would like to tell our audience that, in case you have any doubt or query, you can make a note of it. And we will be taking the question answers at the end of the webinar. You can either type your questions in the chat box, or you can also raise your hand and ask the questions. So let's begin. So, I think, so first I'd like to start with Nehal, Miss Nehal. So to start with basics, Nehal, what do we mean by child's mental health or children's mental health, and why is it so important to talk about it? Because we always think children are small, what might be bothering them? So I think let's begin with that question first.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So very important question when we're discussing importance of mental health for children. To a capsule summary would be that children's mental health is their emotional, psychological, and social well-being of children and adolescents. So this is what primarily we'll be discussing. And it entails how these children would think, how they would behave, how are they handling stress, whether they're relating to people, what kind of people are they relating to when they're talking about their peers, is it same age children, younger or older to them, how do they make decisions, whether they're resilient, how are they able to cope up with life's challenges. So when we're talking about mental health among children, it's not just the absence of any kind of mental illness that we're looking at, but we're also looking at the growth perspective, in terms of their ability to relate with other people, their ability to overcome challenges. And good mental health, this allows children to develop that kind of resilience, to help them build healthy relationships, navigate challenges. And this is sort of, laying groundwork for the emotional stability and well-being that they will achieve as adults. So often we see that adults who come into therapy have some maladjustments or something that has happened in their childhood, which has in turn manifested in some kind of challenge as an adult. So that sort of good mental health among children lays a groundwork for how the rest of the life is also going to go. So if we think about it this way, for instance, when a child falls and they scrape their knee possibly, we have parents, teachers running to them and catering to what is it that has happened, asking them if they're okay. We would clean their wound, we'll possibly put on a bandage, reassure them, comfort them. But when a child feels overwhelmed or anxious, or when they don't want to go to school, or when they don't want to leave their parents, often we assume that they will grow out of it, or it's possibly just a phase. And it could be, if it is a one-off date, possibly could be a one-off event. But if it is a persistent pattern that you have noticed, and it possibly requires the same kind of attention and care that physical illness or injury might require. So when children struggle with their mental health, it sort of can affect their ability to concentrate, engage in schoolwork, and interact with their peers as well, right? So a lot of times their academic domain is also usually the ones that are getting affected. And whereas children who have good mental health, they're better equipped to manage their emotions, resolve conflicts, possibly build interpersonal relationships. Another thing to take into consideration is that mental health among children is very different than what you would see in adults. So often we conceptualize little children as simply smaller versions of adults with, a tiny brain or a slower brain, but that's not the case. There are quite a lot of changes that are happening within the brain as well, right? It's adapting, it's trying to make sense of its environment. So they're not just smaller, slower versions of adults, but they're developing at a very rapid pace. So a lot of times, the symptoms that might manifest, which may be a result of some mental health issue, might be very different for that child as opposed to what might be seen in an adult, right? With limited language skills, there is only so much that the child can do to communicate that they're not doing okay. So their challenges might be communicated differently, often through behavioral symptoms, which sometimes might be easy to discard. So that is one thing to remember. Also, they are highly influenced by their immediate environment, including their family, the school, peers. So, if a child doesn't receive the love and affection from their caregivers, they will not think that there is something wrong with that caregiver. They'll think that there's something wrong with them. And that is also very important to sort of take note that the environmental influences are also quite a lot on that particular child, right? So these are, broadly the key differences that we'll talk about. We'll talk about the different kinds of disorders and all possibly later, but in a nutshell, we are saying that children's mental health, it's not merely the absence of any illness or so to say disorder, but also includes all of these other variables that have to be taken into consideration.
Thank you so much, Nehal. And very important part, like there is this saying, a stitch in time saves nine. So certain things that can be cured so easily, or that can be worked upon. Not the cured is not the right word, but worked upon in childhood can be so beneficial when they grow up into an adult. So it's very, and to understand that mental health is not like a one track thing for children also. It has a lot of facets to it. So thank you for explaining that. So now my next question would be to Anupama ma'am. Now that we have an idea of what all encompasses when it comes to child's mental health. Ma'am, so play is a very important part of a child's world. So
Right.
can you explain us the importance of play in child's life and emotional world?
Yes, of course. So in basic terms, I think if I ask all of you, all of like the most fondest memory of your childhood is your play, right? Like how we played with our friends. So yeah, basically what we believe in is that all children love to play, and unconsciously it is helping us in overall child development. So if you look at the benefits of play, it starts from the physical development, like I don't have to explain that, but throwing ball or making a necklace, like child is developing the physical skills, child is developing the cognitive skills. Like through play, he is automatically learning so many new concepts. Then language skills with friends, like language and social skills, like how to take turns, sharing, moral development, where they know how to follow certain rules and regulations, what is right, what is wrong. So all that is learned in play, which is which is not taught to them intentionally, but it just happens when they are playing with their friends. And most importantly, I would say emotional development that happens through play, because as Nehal was explaining, I would like to say that in continuation with that, that all children have same emotions like us. Like they are also sad, they are also happy, they are also anxious, they are also stressed out. Only the reasoning is different. So they do get affected by their environment, by their issues, maybe at school or at family. And if we don't give that outlet for them to express those emotions, then those emotions come out in a very different way. So a child may suddenly become aggressive, the child may become rebellious, the child may refuse to go to school, and the reasoning can be totally different. It is because something is affecting him emotionally. So what we say is play is the best medium. Play is very symbolic, and it is the best medium for kids to express themselves, to express their emotions. So yeah. Can't hear you. Yeah, I lost you.
So, ma'am, play, so very interesting, ma'am, because play is always a matter of tussle between the parent and the child. All children want to just play, and parents always want them to bring back some other important things in life. So, this is probably for the first time I hear that how play is so important, and
Yes.
not just for the sake of entertainment, but it helps them, it helps children in so many things in terms of development. Thank you.
Swarna, here I
Uh,
just want to add that
yes, ma'am.
here play means what I meant is a free play, where the child has a freedom to choose his play and he wants to play what he wants, and where it is not a educational activity or whether it's not a structured play, like going for swimming classes or going for karate classes. That is not the play I'm talking about. It
Right,
is a
right.
free play through which children learn and express. Yeah.
Again, very important.
Yes.
Otherwise, we feel play, we are putting our children for different classes and we are giving them a lot of outlet is what many parents feel. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that insight. So now coming to Nehal. So now since we have learned what is the importance of play and how play, has a relation with all different factors in terms of a child's development, and now bringing together mental health also in it back. Can you, Nehal, outline some of the common mental health challenges that are faced by children today?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Some of them may be heightened by some social or academic or environmental pressures, while there are neurodevelopmental challenges as well. So we'll possibly talk about both. If you were to look at the anxiety disorder spectrum in children, what is commonly observed is possibly excessive worry or fear in terms of separation anxiety. So there's a primary caregiver that a child possibly clings on to and has a very difficult time separating from that caregiver. And this is a common challenge that a lot of children might experience. So there may be stories wherein mothers or any caregiver would say that my child follows me everywhere. Even when I go to the toilet, the child's going to sit, outside and possibly wait for mama to come back. Very hard to drop this child off at school. They will cry and possibly not let the parent go. So although some of these challenges are considered normal in the developmental process, that there's some anxiety that is going to be there when the child is left alone or away is kept away from the caregiver. But if this is a persistent pattern wherein there is a lot of school refusal that is happening, like every day feels like a whole new challenge that I have to go through to make sure that my child goes to school. In that case, there might be something else that might be going on. You might want to look at some anxiety related challenges that might come up. There also might be social anxiety that comes up. Usually, what we see is among older children, adolescents, 12 and up. That is where it starts to develop, wherein children feel extremely anxious of being judged or embarrassed, especially in that teenage years, wherein peers are extremely important and their opinions are considered to be really sacred and important. So, at that point in time, if the child has possibly gone through an episode or some challenge wherein they're being made fun of or teased for something, then it might possibly develop that fear that's very excessive, right? And these are just some of the issues under the anxiety disorder spectrum. Or there might be depression and related symptoms that might come up, wherein often with children, you see that a lot of these challenges are manifested through physiological disturbances or behavioral disturbances. So the child might not be able to say that I'm feeling very sad or I'm feeling very low, but you're possibly able to pick out changes in appetite or mood. A lot of times it comes out as irritability. What might be sadness is the child snapping and being very, very irritable. So that is another thing to look out for. Self-esteem challenges might show up, and the underlying cause might be depression. So, for instance, if there was a child who was once enthusiastic and has suddenly stopped playing their favorite sport or going to their favorite class, their motivation is really down. It's possibly, deeper investigations possibly need to be done. With teenagers, what is sort of the prevalence of eating disorders is also increasing quite a lot with teenagers. Their self-esteem getting impacted by their appearances, and as a result, they are possibly experiencing these challenges. So that's another thing. Technology and related challenges are also very, very prevalent. So issues like among adolescents and children, so increased screen time, wanting to be on screen for a prolonged period of time, being very, very irritable when that screen is being taken away. With teenagers, that indulgence in social media, gaming, those are some of the things that are coming up, right? So this is one side of the challenges that you would see. And the other is your neurodevelopmental disorders that also need to be considered. For example, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. So affecting a child's focus, impulse control issues, not being able to stay organized. And usually with neurodevelopmental disorders, teachers are usually the ones who are able to spot that very, very early on. That the child is not able to stay in class, stay still in class, not able to take turns, being very impulsive. So or autism spectrum disorders wherein that affects communication or social interactions, behavior. So that might also be something to consider. Some learning disabilities that teachers are also able to spot, like difficulties with reading, difficulties with math, that might impact their academic performance, right? So the bottom line is that if these challenges, if they're interfering in their daily life in any way, if they're interfering with learning, relationships, and I'm sure ma'am will talk about it, but play, that is one of the most primary areas where these do show up. In that case, there might be something that we want to sort of investigate and see if there's
Yes.
something else going on.
Yes.
So Nehal, yeah, no, I can get it that today with this changing world, there are so many new things that are coming up. When it comes to the challenges that children are also facing, including their time on social media and trying to keep themselves, the body image that is getting affected because of the onslaught of media and the world today we live in. So indeed, there are a lot of challenges, and it's probably not so easy to be a child today, maybe if I can say. So ma'am, now moving on to Anupama ma'am. So ma'am, as I mentioned in your introduction that you are a play therapist. So I'm very curious to know how play works as a therapy. Like, play therapy is one of the modality to work with children. And I'm very sure that not many people have heard about play therapy as such in India. So if you can talk a little, so you can say, and also ma'am, just in light of what, in light of what Nehal has said, if you can also shed some light how play therapy works for mental health concerns, which Nehal mentioned, like anxiety, self-esteem, overuse of social media, and across the ages.
Yes, of course. Yes, thank you, Swarna. Yeah, in continuation to what Nehal is saying, like as she had said, she had described different issues which children and adolescents face at different ages. And in play therapy, again, as I had told you, we know that all children love to play, and we use that medium to basically encourage them to express themselves through play. So what happens is, kids as small as 4 or 5 years old, or even later, they most of them, they don't think that they have an issue, or they don't even think that, they can't even identify the emotion they're going through, like what Nehal was saying. They don't know they're anxious, they don't know they're depressed. It starts showing in their daily life, and then parents get concerned. And so children don't come to us on their own saying that, Auntie, I have this problem. So, so I just cannot sit across across the table and ask the child that, can you tell me what is happening in your life? The child will not open up to me. The child will not trust me. So then we use play to connect with them, uh, to build that trust in me, that, this auntie is there with me, she understands me, she genuinely interested in knowing about my life. And once that trust is built, then, as I said, play is very symbolic. So children will symbolically express, and we are like investigators, as Nehal has said. So, through this symbolism, we will try to understand what is happening in child's life. So we always think, like, whenever a child comes to us, we never think what is wrong with this child. We are always thinking about what is happening with this child, why is he behaving in this way? Because no child is born rebellious, no child is, born aggressive. Something is happening to him, that's why he's behaving certain way. So we are trying to find out through play. So it's like, maybe just to give you a simple example, the child who is not going to school, and, there is a school refuser for over a long time. It may not be directly connected to something happening at school, but it can be, maybe a new baby has come home and the child is feeling jealous that, the mom will spend more time with the baby, and I don't want that. So a simple solution in child's mind is, I won't go to school so I can spend time with my mom. So, we try to understand the reason behind the child's behavior. And once we know the reasoning, we work on it. And then the problem is solved. So that is just in brief. So, yeah.
Just throw some light about what are some of the things you use in play therapy with children. So you
Uh,
can just
sure. So
thought
we,
what material you-
somehow I can't hear you properly.
Oh, ma'am, what material do you use?
So we of course we use a lot of play material here, right from, clay to drawing material, like, what we call as self-expressive material, to, like, we do have uh, uh, like puzzles, we have cards, we have like, like army sets, we have. So we have the toys which I'm sure many of you have at your home, but they become therapeutic when they are in the play therapy room, because we know what is the therapeutic value of using each toy, and how to use it with a child, and what to see, like how is he playing with a toy, what is he trying to show us through play, and if he needs any coping strategy, that is also provided through play. So,
That
and
sounds interesting. Sorry,
yeah.
continue, ma'am. But you
Yeah,
have done.
and of course that is for smaller kids. And as I said, play therapy started for children from 3 to 12 years of age, because, they're non-verbal and they don't have that language capacity to basically talk to other people about their feelings and emotions. So we started using play as a medium. But like over the years, a lot of research has done, and play therapy can also be used for adolescents, young adults, as well as old age people. So it is very effective throughout the lifespan.
Interesting. And I find it so interesting to see all those toys there. That sounds very interesting. The kind of work you do with children. So now, Nehal, now that ma'am has given an idea what kind of a therapy is play therapy, and ma'am also spoke about how children, see children, as ma'am said, that children cannot express that this is what they are feeling, but they will show, and as you also mentioned, they will show it through their behavior. So can you tell us some signs or symptoms that can be identified by the parents, teachers, or caregivers that this child might be having some concerns or some mental health issues?
Right. So a lot of this would being observant of their patterns would This is the primary key that we're looking at. So for parents, teachers, caregivers, keeping your ears very, very open to what is it that my child is saying, this is something that can be done. So for instance, a singular bad day is fine. But if you're looking at ongoing patterns of distress, then there are some deeper concerns that might be there, right? So some behavioral changes that you might want to look out for is if there's a sudden drop in school performance. So for instance, this is an average child who was scoring average marks, but is suddenly failing in quite a few subjects. Then there is something that is sort of like a red flag. If you see that there is a decrease in motivation, even for the things that this child previously liked to do. So with a good thing is to watch out for the used tools. So if you're describing your child in a lot of used to, my child used to enjoy this, but they're no longer doing it, or my child used to be very motivated and happy, but they're no longer like this anymore. In that case, you've seen a shift, right? So it is very normal that a child's interest shifts from one thing to another, and that is something that you typically see. One day they like playing football, the next day they want to play basketball. But that's a different thing. But overall, if the motivation level is extremely low, then that is again a red flag to look at. If there is an increase in aggression or increase in anger outbursts, that also points out to something that might be going on. To give you an example, a lot of times children who are getting bullied or teased at school retaliate in a way that is very aggressive or angry. And there is a strong sense of injustice that they have. Like, I complained about this to my teacher, but still the teacher only gave them a warning and didn't punish them. So then it's coming from a sort of feeling of hurt, which is, anger is secondary, but it is often expressed as anger and violence. So if you overlook that, then the child seems like an angry child, but there's a lot going on underneath, right? So if there are any behavioral changes or physiological changes in terms of sleep and appetite, if they're sleeping too much or sleeping too little, or if you've noticed that appetite has fluctuated quite a lot, then that may be something to look at. If they're constantly worried. So some children will have that externalizing tendencies wherein they will possibly be angry or violent. And I say that I am not worried about these children as much as I'm worried about the ones who are withdrawing or keeping to themselves. Because the children who are in their shells or typically said that this is a good child, like the poster child for everything good, often there is something that is going on that is not addressed. Because a well-adapted child will have that, some mischiefs here and there, something that, will come up. But the ones that are withdrawn or don't speak, those are the ones that actually require a lot of care and affection. So that is something to look out for, is withdrawal in relationships, right? Or if there are any if there are behaviors that they have returned. So the ones that we see usually on the earlier stages of development, like thumb sucking or bedwetting. And if there is a sudden change, for example, an 8-year-old who is, again going back to these behaviors of thumb sucking, there's bedwetting or getting frequent nightmares, if they've gone back or regressed, then again that might indicate that there is something that might be happening, right? So the idea here is to sort of be open and be observant of their patterns of how this child is behaving, and that will give you a lot of clues about what might be happening with this child. And the other is to establish open communication patterns with that child, right? A child will only come to you when they're feeling unsafe if they have constantly, persistently come to you before to talk about all the mundane things in life, right? Like what happened in classroom, what happened at the playground. If you're communicating about those things very well, then the child will feel comfortable talking about something important.
Absolutely.
If they have been dismissed, like in the sense that, or children pick up on those cues very quickly, right? Busy parents, they have million things to do. Child is trying to tell you something. And if you've not put your work down and had that 2-minute conversation, it sort of discourages the child to come up to you again. So talk about all things mundane, about daily events. Sometimes you also might want to share about your day, and they are so that it is a two-way street. So that when the time comes that there is something challenging that is going on, the child will feel comfortable to bring that up, and say that, my parents were there to hear me out. And your response to what the child is saying is everything, right? If you label, judge, or if you are quick to react in ways that are possibly not nice, then it's possibly taken as a warning that this is not a safe space to share about what may be going on. So whatever it is, it suggests that put everything down, and when the child makes that attempt to want to connect with you, put everything down and engage, so that in the future there's something that's happening, and creating that kind of a safe environment. So it's good to have that ecosystem wherein teachers, grandparents, siblings, parents, they're all kept in the loop about what is happening. And that if there is frequent communication between the teacher and the parent, the child knows that they really care about me and they're in touch with what's happening, they're updated. So that also sort of helps in making sure that you're able to pick up if there's something that's not quite okay.
If I can just add one point here,
Yeah.
I mean, what you said is very true, that we need to create that safe place at our home for kids to come and express their emotions. And one way to help, like as you have mentioned, is parents, parents telling them about their day, their challenges. Most importantly, openly talking about their negative emotions. Like, I did feel angry today at my colleague because she was not doing her job properly. So then the child feels, okay, my parent can also get angry. So it's okay to tell the parent that, I also got angry with my teacher or something like this. So that open communication starts with, with this kind of exchanges. And I think another important point is, like, as parents, we always want to come across as very ideal parents, like, we can do no wrong kind of a thing. But I think it is very important to talk about our failures too, in the sense, um, I don't know, but today I couldn't do it. It just didn't happen. I tried, but I couldn't complete it. So the child sees the parent as a human being, not as somebody at upper level. And, like, he doesn't get that feeling, I'm here somewhere while the parent is like super mom and super dad who can do everything. The child feels, okay, they are also like me. So I think that also helps in open communication.
Thank you so much for that point, and thank you, Nehal. Again, there's so many signs and symptoms that then children will show through their behavior, through their classroom behavior, and parents play such an important role in communication channel with their children so that they
Yeah.
can come and talk about their struggles and distress. So, ma'am, Anupama, ma'am, I wanted to ask you is that mostly the parents, when they see these kind of signs and symptoms, or at least those parents who are able to understand that there is something not right with the child right now, and my child is not opening up to me, and probably it is that time that they might seek different therapies and maybe a play therapy.
Yeah.
So, since based on all that you said that we use play and we
Yeah.
want to know what the child is showing. So could you give an example or so of how children express their struggles or their distress
Yeah.
in the play sessions?
Sure. I will do that. So before just that, I just want to add one more thing. Like, see, like, open communication with parents is extremely important. But that communication, that language exchange starts at later age. But from very, like, when the child is very small, from that point also the parent can start connecting with the child through play, and that is what we say as a special playtime. Okay, so you can just be with a child for 15-20 minutes a day. Let him decide what he wants to do. Let him take the control, and you be his friend, and you come down to his level and enjoy that play activity with him, and you will see that kids will be so happy with you. And because here is a parent who is just not instructing or criticizing, but also playing with me and laughing with me, so that balances out everything. And once that relationship starts from that early age, then I guarantee you that open communication will continue. And of course, Nehal had said that, the importance of having that open communication. But it can start from very early age through special playtime. And coming back to your question about how they show struggles in their in our play therapy room. See, I will give you just one basic example of how it can happen. So, a 4-year-old child who had come to us because, again, one complaint was school refusal, and second one was like he was becoming very aggressive, and he was uh, actually back answering the mother and hitting the sibling. And he was supposed to be like a very quiet child, well-behaved child, according to the mother. And the mother was wondering suddenly what happened. So the mother had gone to the teacher, had met the teacher, and teacher had also said that no, he's completely fine in the classroom. Don't worry about him. So in the play therapy room, in that safe environment, he started playing with animals. Okay, and he kept one animal in between. And there were there were 5 or 6 animals around that animal, and one by one they were attacking the middle animal. And he continued to play that for a while. So then we asked mother that yes, you had asked the teacher about the classroom behavior, but why don't you go and observe him during the recess time? So mother went and mother observed, and of course there was a group of kids who were actually bullying this child. Okay, verbally bullying this child, and this child, being a very quiet child, well-behaved child, just didn't know how to answer back, what to do in that situation. So he just used to keep quiet and stand in one corner. But as we had said initially, those emotions were there in him. He was frustrated, he was angry. And how did those emotions came out? Coming back home, back answering the mom, hitting the sibling, right? His anger came out that way. But the real reason was the bullying that was happening at school. So this is something we come to know only in the play therapy room by observing what the child is trying to show us through play.
So fascinating. And play can be so symbolic, is what I can see from the example you shared.
Yes.
And I believe it must be so easy for that child to express what is happening in his life
Yes.
through that play, instead of, verbally trying to tell that, this is what is happening with me. Thank you so much for that example. So now that we have seen both the things where, and it correlates with what Nehal also said, that the withdrawal child is the one who sometimes, needs
Absolutely. Much more attention.
than the, much more attention. So now that we have seen some of the signs and symptoms shown by children regarding mental health concerns and how struggles are expressed in play therapy, I would like to ask both of you to share some effective coping mechanisms for children. Here we are talking what children can do, or what are some of the techniques that children can use to cope with some of the things that they are going through. So maybe we can start with Nehal. Would you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Right. So I think helping children cultivate that emotional vocabulary is very important, and parents and teachers and caregivers can do that by frequently asking the child to label how they're feeling. So an example that I'd like to give you is for a child who's worrying, right? You ask them if it is a big worry or a small worry, and what does that worry feel like, So the child would say that it feels like butterflies in my tummy, or it feels like my heart is, running on a running race. And that is how they would possibly start verbalizing their internal experiences and, giving it name. Exactly what is it that I'm, experiencing. So further, this child, said something of like this, that, I'm having a big worry, and in order to make it a small worry, I'm going to use some breathing exercises, or I will practice belly breathing. Once they sort of pick these things up, they're able to inculcate it into their day-to-day practice, and sort of learn to regulate their emotions a little bit. So the big thing here is possibly these deep breathing or relaxation techniques that can be taught as coping mechanisms. So belly breathing is when you ask the child to, take in a big inhale, and you place one hand on your belly and see what it feels like, how it expands and how it, goes back like a balloon. Or something that is something like your 5-finger breathing, when you're inhaling, as you're tracing your finger up, exhale as you go down, that 5 times. Or bubble breathing, you have them see that there are imaginary bubbles in the environment, and you have to take a big breath and you have to try and blow it out. So, some creative ways through which some breathing techniques can be introduced that might be helpful when they're experiencing very intense emotions, right? Plus, possibly, art is also something that is very important to express what they're feeling. So that can possibly also be used as a tool. Have them. What we've learned is that for a lot of children, having a routine or a sense of stability is also very important for their mental well-being. So having a routine as to what time they're going to wake up, what their meal time is going to look like, what time do they have to go to school. So that kind of structure provides a sense of security for a lot of children. So that is also something that we encourage that children do. And plus, possibly, if they're engaging in a lot of screen time, possibly see if that can be managed and regulated, right? So these are some of the things that are coming to my mind primarily. Anupama ma'am, if you would like to add.
Yeah. So yeah, Nehal, I think you have covered quite a lot. Yes, for kids, their emotional identification and expression is extremely important. So we can use small things at home also. So as you were saying, no, like ask the child to express more about what is happening to him. So and then provide the solution for it. So it can be generalized through like even when a simple storytelling activity is happening at home, nothing to do with the child's problem, but like maybe like it's a everyday routine at our house to read a story to your child. So I would suggest that it shouldn't be like a storytelling, but if you can expand it more, and if you can ask the child, oh, I wonder how this animal is feeling right now, or I wonder what rabbit is going through right now. So it helps in their emotional, expanding their emotional language and also empathy, which is so very important for, our later life. Also, parents can actually talk about different emotions through different activities at home. Like there is one activity called as a mirror practice, where like it's a fun activity. So a parent can stand in front of mirror and make faces like, today I'm happy because whatever, and then ask the child to make faces and talk like, I'm sad because of this. So again, talking about emotions, and exchanging thoughts, it is very very important for the child. Sometimes children do need coping mechanisms. So like immediate coping mechanisms, kind of, if the child is getting bullied, yes, he has expressed, he has told you about his happening at school, but then what? So that can be also done at home by parents through maybe puppets or through role play. So if it happens to you again, then what are you going to do? Then how are you going to answer? So can you show me exactly what happened that time, so we can find solutions to this issue? I am with you, we are the team, and we are going to face this issue together. So that kind of confidence can be given to child at home. And using this puppet, storytelling, role play, clay, as she said, art, expressive materials, so children can be helped and supported at home with their issues.
Thank you both of you. Thank you, Nehal, and thank you, Anupama ma'am, for sharing these simple coping skills. And I'm sure our audience is getting benefited by that. My next question would be to moving on to again Nehal. how can parents and teachers create a supportive environment for the well-being of or the mental well-being of the children?
So for teachers, possibly look at what you can do to create a safe and inclusive classroom, right? Simple things like having a quick feeling checking, wherein at several points in the day you're asking the children how they're feeling on the inside. There are quite a few resources that are available, like feelings wheels. You will see quite a lot, cater to different age groups. So if you're able to take a print, place it somewhere in the classroom, and every once in a while have the children identify and label how they're feeling, so that will encourage the students to share and talk about their emotions. You can possibly also include between classes some small mindful exercises or brain breaks, wherein you are just, having the children take a moment to notice their breathing, or take a moment to look around their surroundings and see what it looks like. So that can be helpful to sort of make that as a practice in their day-to-day life. Possibly also see if there is a corner of the classroom that can be dedicated to for children to go to when they're feeling dysregulated, right? Sometimes kids need a moment to sort of move away from everything and regulate themselves and get back. So having a calm corner like that, or a space where the child can go to sort of get things that, feel a little bit better and go back, that is also something that can be done, right? While offering sort of acknowledgement to the times wherein the child was able to regulate their emotions, offering reinforcement, saying that you did such a good job to regulate yourself. So that encouragement makes the child want to do that again and again. Also, short movement breaks between classes will also possibly have that impact. What also might be helpful is to have some buddy system in place wherein two people are paired together, and they're asked to talk about a certain emotion or an experience with each other. So that might also foster that kind of interpersonal connection, that peer support that can possibly be done. So in terms of teachers and what they can do for parents, I think the biggest part is modeling. So a lot of modeling for themselves. So children will not listen to what you're saying; they will see how you are, and then they will behave accordingly. So when you yourself are able to take time away, if you're good at regulating your emotions, if you're able to verbalize, and say that, I'm not feeling okay, I feel angry or feel sad, so I'm going to go take a walk and come back. Or I'm going to just, sit in my room for a couple of minutes, and possibly then we will have this conversation. So if you're able to sort of model and display what it looks like to regulate your emotions, the child is much more likely to pick up on those strategies and sort of demonstrate for themselves, right? Plus, it's also important for parents to have their routines very, very set and self-care practices in place, so that the child knows that, okay, this is what my parents also do for themselves. So, those are some of the things that are coming to my mind right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I think
Nathan.
she had, yeah.
Thank you for laying out a lot of these different strategies which parents and teachers can use to work with the children for their mental well-being. Um, so we are almost at the end of our webinar. So one of the last, and I,
Can I just
like,
add one thing here, Swarna? Sorry to
yes,
disturb
ma'am.
you.
No, yes, ma'am. Do
So
please do it.
I totally agree with whatever Nehal had said, and she has explained it very beautifully. Just one point which I want to add here is we all have to respect children's emotions, that their emotions as real as ours. And so if the child comes to you saying that I'm little scared of the ghost or the monster in my room, now we cannot just ridicule saying that "Hai, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है." So, you can't laugh at that child, because for that child, it's a very serious issue. So instead of that, if you can identify with him, ki, yeah, when I was of your age, even I was scared of ghost. Let's see what we can do about it. You will connect with that child in much better way. So, that's what I wanted to say, that please respect your children's emotions.
Respect our children's emotion. and connect with them. So, ma'am,
Yes.
Anupama, ma'am, you have spoken about special play time. Would you like to suggest a few more simple play-based activities, which maybe the other some activities that with the parents or the teachers can use to connect with the children? Anything else you can add to it?
I think Nehal has covered most of it, especially with teachers. I think she has covered almost everything. Uh, with parents, I would say that, it is necessary to have that special playtime, a special time between you and your child with no cell phones, no TV, but only, just you and your child. That genuine interest is very necessary. And it can be, and within that time, you can again use any kind of play-based activities, right from using clay, using drawing, using storytelling, puppets, to let the child express himself, uh, provide supporting strategies through this play. So yeah, I think the special playtime is the answer.
Yes, ma'am. And I think in special playtime, we can use, I mean, I think the sky is the imagination to use whatever
Yes.
medium is available to you easily and comes to you easily to build connection with our
And yeah, and if I just may add, like, connecting with your child or chatting with your child does not include talking about school or talking about exams or, how much did you get and all that. Or it is just about general topics like, what movie is out there, which hotel should we go to, what did you do, what I do. Like, general topics, the discussion is more important. So, so special playtime should include that. It shouldn't become instructional or it shouldn't become critical in any way. Yeah.
very important to note that the special playtime is not instructional, and more important not to talk about school and how much marks you are getting, when is your next exam, and why did you behave in this way. I think that is a
Yes.
very important point on this. So done with our last question for today right now. Now we are keeping, so we'll begin if we'll keep it open now for the audience. So if you have any doubts, if anything you want to ask Anupama ma'am, either raise your hand or you can put it in the chat box and ask. So any queries? So ma'am, one question that is there is about, when teenage children or adolescent, um, how special playtime or how to, because
Yeah.
that is the age
Yeah.
it is difficult to connect your teenage children.
Absolutely.
So
So
what
special,
to do with it?
see, connecting with your child should happen at any age. It's never too late. So, and with teenage and adolescents, of course, it is not play time as such, but it's a special time you are spending with a child. So it can be just, you and your child going out for breakfast and again talking about everything else, but what is happening at school and exams and all that. So, or just going for movies, just chatting like a friend. You have to create that image, like, that I am here, I'm your friend, and you can come to me if you face any issues outside in the world. And like, initially, as Suvarna, you were saying, like, actually, today's kids, it is much more challenging to them than us because there is so much happening outside and there is so much exposure to social media and they see so many things and they don't understand many things. So, they try to then find answers in their own way, and in doing that they make mistakes, for what they get punished. So if I can just give you a small example, what is happening is, like, like on TV or whichever movie you see nowadays, there are a lot of sex related scenes are there, or people are drinking, or couples are kissing, and you know the content of most of the movies now. So a 4 or 5 year old, they don't understand what is happening. So they just might want to just try that with the friend. Okay, just try to see what is under her frock, or what is like kissing? I see Shah Rukh Khan doing that. Can I do that? So it's not because of anything else, but it is just basic curiosity for a 4-year-old. But he gets punished for the action, and sometimes he doesn't even understand, why am I getting punished? If Shah Rukh Khan can do it, why can't I do it? So so at this points, I think the parental support is very necessary. That's why that safe place, what Nehal was talking about, is so necessary today, where a child should feel free to come back to you and ask you, he, what was happening there? What does that mean? Huh? So, and the parent can tell the child going down to their level, explaining that at home, so the child doesn't have to experiment it outside. So I think in today's world, connecting with your child is extremely important. And with teenagers, as I said, it can happen through chatting in friendly manner.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
a 16-year-old tomorrow comes and says that, Daddy, I think I have a boyfriend, you just cannot say, how can you have a boyfriend? I mean, today the whole generation is changing. Almost everyone is having boyfriends here. So accept it and then talk to her about it in detail. You just cannot get angry with her for having a boyfriend. So I hope that you are getting it, what I'm trying to say here. Just,
Yes, ma'am. Very important. I think it's very important, whatever be the age of your child, connection building, connection is the most important thing. And if the
Absolutely.
connection is there with your child, and the child may be of any age, it will always lead to an open communication for even some very tricky questions that we have.
Yes.
One question which maybe ma'am can answer, Nehal, you can also answer, and it's in relation to what we are discussing right now. The earlier question, how to reduce screen time. Yes. I think this is a question which all of us are struggling with. But yeah, when it comes to children, how to reduce screen time, maybe both of you can suggest some strategies or something that can be done.
I think Nehal had already, I think she was talking about it a little bit, like, the screen time starts with parents actually. It is the parents who had given the phone to the child. It's the parents who have allowed the child to watch TV or, whatever, YouTube. So again, it's in parents' hand to control it, reduce it. So there are lots of strategies. First of all, like, some parents, they do go to extremes, like taking away the phone or, closing down the TV. So we say that don't go to those extremes. The child shouldn't feel guilty for doing it. We have to handle these issues very gently. And I think I can start with the first step, and then Nehal can join me, where I will say that, the parents themselves should reduce their screen time. And if the child is seeing, like, as you were saying, Swarna, they're modeling, like, I mean, so if the child is seeing, like, my mom is always on WhatsApp, or my dad is, like, watching YouTube videos always, then what's wrong if I do that? So, um, I would say that, yeah. Yeah,
Nehal,
Neha.
you would like
Okay,
to add?
also, yeah. See if you can have screen-free meals or screen-free
Yeah,
meal times, or if there's a room that is supposed to be screen-free, so screen-free balcony. So every time you're stepping into it, has to be left out. So some innovative strategies like that can possibly help. Also, one thing is that some screen time is going to be inevitable for that child,
yeah,
because with changing
absolutely.
technology, a lot of children have homeworks or things like that is on the screen, right? But it can be used in a productive way. So, for instance, for very young children, if there is let's say a short animated movie or a video that the child is watching on YouTube, you use that as a medium to facilitate discussions around that movie, right? So, for example, what did so and so character experience? What was happening? So, this can also be used as a tool to build emotional intelligence among children, tool to build language skills. So, try to see if something like that can be done, wherein it is not just, mere screen time, but it is used as a medium for interaction, for connection in some form.
Right, right. Thanks. Thank you. I don't see any more questions right now. Before we move ahead, Nehal, would you like to share something?
Yes, there. Yes, yes. So, we would like to take this opportunity to talk about two programs that fall under Symbiosis Center for Emotional Wellbeing. So, we have the Symbiosis Child Learning and Development Center as a under Symbiosis Center for Emotional Wellbeing, wherein we offer holistic care for children. The services that we have here are psychometric assessments for all kinds of challenges. So, learning disabilities, autism, ADHD related diagnosis. So we have assessments, we have career counseling for children and for young adults who might be exploring or wondering about what next to take up. So we take an assessment and we have one-on-one counseling that helps them figure out what their best career fit is. We also have occupational therapy, speech therapy, and remedial teaching. In case there are any children who want to take benefit, we have behavior therapy and other psychological counseling set up at Symbiosis. So if there's anyone who would like to avail any of the services, you can send us an email to skew_cldc@siu.edu.in. And the other thing that I wanted everybody to know about is our BSc in Mental Health program, which is run by Symbiosis Institute of Health Sciences at the Loveday campus. So this is a unique 4-year program that aligns with the new education policy. And it is a blend of subjects that come from science and humanities. So these mental health professionals would learn a lot about brain biology, about different therapeutic modalities, counseling skills, psychosocial determinants of behavior. So those are some of the subjects that are offered here as a part of this BSc in mental health program. And the eligibility for this is 10+2. So after 12th grade, you can register. Any stream, it doesn't matter. You can still register for the program. And you can send us an email to enquiry.mentalhealth@shs.edu.in in case anyone's interested. So those were the two things that we wanted to bring to your notice. Apart from that, I think that's it from my end.
So this brings us to the end of our session. So thank you, Anupama ma'am. Thank you, Nehal, for your valuable insights. And we do hope that this session has helped our audience and me also to understand the importance of child's mental health and how play therapy can support their emotional well-being. And I hope everyone has enjoyed this webinar. If you would like to, if you would like to learn more or seek professional help, feel free to reach out to our team. And I thank all our actors who has joined us on the Zoom link as well as on YouTube Live. So thank you. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Dr. Girija ma'am and Dr. Rahul, who are the heads for our center, Symbiosis Center for Emotional Wellbeing, for their constant guidance and inspiration. Thank you to our IT team, because without their support, this webinar would not have been possible. So thank you once again and enjoy your day and have a great weekend for all. So we can stop for today.
Thank you, Suvarna.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah, so you can leave the session. Everyone can leave the session.